So you're thinking about moving to Boise, Idaho, or maybe you have already honed in on one of its incredibly popular suburbs like Meridian, Eagle, Star, or Middleton. Now you're wondering what you can and should expect the weather to really be like throughout the year. In this video, I'm going to walk you through all 4 seasons that we experience because, yep, living in Boise will mean that you will experience all 4 of them. I'll cover everything you need to know, from what clothes you'll need to vehicles, or rather tire considerations, to all the common concerns we've heard from people moving here from other states. Concerns that are valid, as well as some of those that, well, we can just extinguish for you because if you are considering moving out of state, you've got your hands full already and likely enough to worry about. And, well, we don't want you wasting any of your time worrying about things that just really aren't real concerns. We'll also talk about whether there are certain areas across the Treasure Valley that experience harsher conditions at certain times of the year than others. Because, well, spoiler alert, based on the positioning of the valley and the mountains around us, not all cities or even areas within the same city experience the same weather patterns all of the time. Okay, so to begin, let's just quickly talk about what you need to know about our climate. Boise's climate is generally classified as semi-arid, which means we have hot summers, cold winters, and then relatively mild springs and fall seasons. And then as far as humidity goes, we, thank heavens, really don't have any problems with humidity.
Her hair can't handle that humidity.
So what is it going to actually feel like living here every single month out of the year? Let's start with the season that typically gets people the most concerned. Let's talk about winter. Here in Boise, it typically begins to feel like winter is about to set in right at the very end of November, so pretty much right after Thanksgiving. Our typical winters here run from December 1st right through the end of February. Winter in Boise can be cold, with temperatures often hovering right around the 30s or 40s. Snowfall is common, especially in the nearby mountains, making it a great season for skiing and snowboarding up at Bogus. Down in the valley, we usually receive just enough snow to assure we will have a white Christmas. That said, that was not the case this past year. So Christmas of 2023, we didn't have any snow, but that's really not the norm. My 12-year-old, who was born and raised right here in Boise, has never experienced a snowless Christmas until this past year. So yeah, we typically have white Christmases, which I don't know about you, but I love.
Dreaming of a white.
That said, down in the valley, so in the cities of Boise, Meridian, Eagle, and Star, and all of those, snow tends to be relatively light. That said, Idaho certainly likes to keep us on our toes. So we do occasionally see a snowstorm come in and, well, just pretty much take us by storm, which is actually what we also experienced, but only for about a week in early January of this year, which for my 2 boys was met with great excitement because it meant that West Ada, the school district that they attend, and the largest school district in the state of Idaho, well, they called several snow days, which my boys spent very, very happily hooky-bobbing around our neighborhood and building snow forts. Across the valley, our schools typically call snow days due to road conditions. If a snowstorm blows in late in the day and goes throughout the night, and thus our plows aren't able to keep up with the snowfall, and there's significant freezing or dangerous road conditions, well, it's very likely going to result in a snow day or several. Or if the temperature plummets to an unusual low, they also might call for a snow day. And just if you're curious, if they do call a snow day, they'll typically make that call right around 5 to 5:30 in the morning. So obviously for some parents and or doting grandparents, that can certainly throw a wrench into our schedules. That said, we almost always have a pretty good idea if a snow day is likely on the horizon prior to going to bed the night before. So none of us are ever that surprised by that 5 a.m. text clarifying the school's decision. So here you can see what we typically see for highs and lows across the months of December, January, and February. Now, these averages typically seem to surprise most people to learn. For whatever reason, we've found that many people considering relocating here tend to think that here in Idaho, we experience winters with below 0 temperatures. And really, for the most part, that just isn't the case, or by any means our norm. Typically, our lows are right around 25 with our highs around 38. So certainly not bikini and flip-flop weather, but but you're also not going to risk getting frostbite by taking good old Fido out for a walk. Another thing that I want you to know about what to expect during the winter here, it is in the winter that we occasionally experience atmospheric inversions. And if you aren't familiar with inversions, they basically occur when cold air is inverted. So instead of rising up to higher altitudes like normal, the cold air is stuck right down in the valley with all the warmer air trapped above at higher altitudes. It basically feels like a balloon of coldness just kind of encases the valley. Warmer temperatures are flipped up and the coldness is encased downward, pretty much just blanketing the city. So, while typically temperatures obviously decrease as you go up into the mountains, with an inversion, you see just the opposite. So for our family, if an inversion has set in, our favorite escape is to just head up to Bogus. The elevation climb pops you right up and above the inversion cloud, which is really just a great feeling. By the time we're done skiing and headed back down the mountain, our serotonin levels are back up and we're good to go. I should note that they do not happen every single year, and when they do, they typically only last about a week or sometimes even less. Now, let's talk about what to expect come springtime. I absolutely love springtime here in Boise. It's actually the season that we are just about to head into, and really this past weekend already it sort of felt like spring was, well, about to spring into action. Neighbors were out and about getting lawn equipment dialed and their gardens prepped. On the heels of winter, well, it just felt, or rather still feels, pretty darn amazing. Springtime in Boise definitely feels like a time of just renewal and pretty much just rejuvenation. As the snow melts and flowers start to pop up and bloom, temperatures gradually rise from a low of right around the mid-50s in March to a comfortable 70s in May. That said, I should note that, well, this is Idaho, so our springs can be a little bit unpredictable. It is not uncommon to see an occasional rain shower or even some late snow flurries throughout early March.
Why is it snowing?
Typically, none of these little weather blips last for too long, but you still want to make sure that you have your umbrella in the car, and having layers is, well, just always a good call. Living in Boise from March to May will mean you can be out and about hiking in the foothills or checking out the gorgeous flower gardens with tulips, lilacs, and cherry blossoms in any one of our many parks such as Julia Davis, or getting your endorphin fix on by running along the Boise Greenbelt. Next, let's talk about summers living here in the Boise, Idaho area. And here again, our typical summer conditions tend to surprise many. In general, we found that many people tend to assume that our summers are going to just be far hotter than they really are. And are they hot? Yes. Will you need sunscreen and AC? Yes. But are you going to have to wake up at 4 a.m. to get your daily jog in before it turns scorching hot like some states?
Arizona?
Yeah, no. Thankfully, throughout the summer, we can quite comfortably run or exercise outdoors up until about 10 or 11 a.m., and then again later in the afternoon or early evenings. And of course, this is all relative. I certainly know people who have no trouble exercising at the peak temp of the day. Some people actually prefer it that way, so between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m., but for me personally, not so much. So while we do see our temperatures pick up throughout the summer months, with our highs typically occurring in late July, early August, for the most part, our summers are very comfortable. We get plenty of sunshine as well as some occasional, but most often refreshing and typically very brief rain showers. Favorite summer activities here include floating the Boise River, wakeboarding out at Lucky Peak or Lake Lowell, camping at any of the hundreds of wonderful spots out in Idaho's incredible wilderness, to hitting the countless number of slides and attractions at Roaring Springs, to enjoying one of many outdoor concerts. Gosh, I could go on for hours, but don't worry, I won't do that to you. If there's another activity or event that you're currently curious about, just post it below in the comments section and we'd be very happy to elaborate. And finally, let's talk about fall. The onset of the autumn season never fails to take me by surprise. It seems like it's summer, 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 then school starts and boom, the leaves start changing, the air is just a bit crisper, and yep, here comes fall. And I'm not alone. The beauty of this season just always seems to surprise newcomers. While it certainly isn't New England, well, it's still a beautiful time here in the valley and one that almost all locals love. Typically, our fall season stretches from late September through November. It begins with warmer days in September with highs often in the low 70s and gradually cools down through October and November. By late autumn, daytime temperatures might hover around the mid 50s to low 60s with cooler nights nights that can drop into the 30s. We don't typically see much rainfall during this period of time, and when we do, it tends to be relatively short-lived and light. And really, it often just kind of adds to the crisp autumn air. And then snowfall during this period is very, very rare. We usually don't see snow down in the Boise Valley until late November or early December. Throughout the fall, you can still expect to enjoy plenty of clear, sunny days. It's an ideal time for outdoor activities and recreation. One of the highlights of autumn in Boise, which is, after all, known as the city of trees, is all of the vibrant fall colors. With its mild temperatures and reduced crowds, fall is a pretty perfect time for hiking, biking, trail running, and fishing all across the valley. And then, of course, the Boise foothills and nearby mountains also provide ample opportunities to get your outdoor fix on. During this time, Boise also hosts a variety of fun seasonal events like the Idaho Botanical Gardens Fall Festival. And then there are numerous art shows and farmers markets where you can enjoy local produce, crafts, and endless seasonal festivities and activities. And then, of course, visiting local farms and pumpkin patches to hop on the hay wagon to go find and pick that perfect pumpkin, or hitting an orchard for apple picking, or venturing out to one of several huge corn mazes with Halloween-themed attractions and things that the kids can walk through, and just endless activities, really. There's just truly never a shortage of great seasonal activities and events to embrace. And then as far as clothing goes, similar to springtime, you will typically want to be prepared with layers. That way you will be dialed for the varying temperatures that might, and usually do, pop up throughout the day. Mornings and evenings are typically cooler, while afternoons are usually pretty comfortably warm. In addition to all of the great outdoor seasonal activities, it is also a great time to enjoy the coziness of indoor activities, such as visiting local cafes and restaurants, most of which are, of course, all about featuring seasonal menus with autumn-inspired dishes and drinks. And then, of course, there are a lot of indoor play places for children and teens. Really, our fall season is just kind of the perfect segue into the holiday and winter season that is about to explode.
Santa's coming.
Okay, so now let's quickly talk about which areas across the Treasure Valley typically experience harsher conditions than others. Straight out, if you chose to live in either Emmett or Mountain Home, well, you would need to be prepared and ready to deal with more extreme temperatures and weather patterns and conditions. Let's first talk about Emmett. Situated in the valley northwest of Boise, Emmett typically sees more pronounced temperature extremes, with both hotter summers and colder winters than what we experience down in the Boise area. Emmett's agricultural landscape also makes it very susceptible to frost and freezing temperatures, and that period of time typically arrives earlier and lingers longer than some initially expect. And then in Mountain Home, which is located southeast of Boise, you'd experience much hotter summers and sometimes just some pretty hellaciously strong windstorms. Its location on the Snake River Plain and just desert-like atmosphere contributes to its weather extremes. And then, of course, with the rolling topography that makes up Boise and its surrounding foothills and mountain ranges, well, with varying elevations, you will, of course, also see varying weather patterns. It is not uncommon to see some very dramatic and almost bipolar or sometimes even tripolar weather hitting in various directions all around you. They could have beautiful blue skies in Meridian, and then at the same time, you could look directly to the east and see a full lightning and hailstorm pounding down on Boise. And then all at the same time, something in the middle setting in to the north over the town of Eagle. But you know, it's never boring, and more often than not, pretty cool to both experience and see. So there you have it. Now you know what to expect weather-wise about calling Boise's Treasure Valley home. If you found this video helpful, please consider hitting that little like button. It sure does help us out. And or if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Not only will it help us to stay in touch, but it also helps to just encourage us to keep up putting out these weekly videos. If you have any questions, please post them below, and or feel free to call or text me and my very low pressure but highly knowledgeable and action ready team. We are here and dialed and would love to help you. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.